Welcome to Becoming a Writer podcast, where writing inspiration is served fresh in 20 minutes or less every second and fourth Saturday. I am Rubina Gauri Gomes, and together we'll learn how to explore, experiment with, and express our writer selves. If this speaks to your writing journey, give the podcast a listen. If you enjoy it, I'd love for you to leave a review so others can find it too. Don't forget to share your suggestions or questions through the form in the show notes, and let's grow this community together. You can find more conversations like this and download your free Writer's Mental Toolbox PDF at rubinagomes.substack.com. Now grab a cup of your favorite drink and let's have a quick chat. Well, hello my writer friends, Rubina here. In our last conversation, I shared the first 5 writing and creative lessons I learned last year. Shall we continue our 34th conversation by discussing the rest 5? Let's do it. Lesson 6. Slow down, you crazy child. For the past 5 years, I have been frantically working on content creation. I hoped to build an audience for the books I publish in the future. My aim has always been to write and publish my books. Content creation was supposed to be an extra arm to help me reach out. But the more I was busy creating weekly content, the further away I was going from working on my books. And the more I wasn't able to work on my books, the more depressed I became. I had enough of that. I knew I had to make changes. I started by cutting out the almost dead medium, reducing my essay publication schedule from weekly to twice a month, and doing the same with my podcast uploads. Then I removed the multiple projects I had going on and brought it down to 2 work in progresses, one in the writing phase and the other in the editing phase. The changes are still in motion. For this new year, I am removing essay publication completely and focusing just on my podcast. I am in the process of revamping my Substack and website to make them more reader-focused and friendly. I am also focusing on editing my new self-help book for writers, which I'll be publishing by year end. The point is that the kind of fulfilling and meaningful creative life I want to live requires me to live a slow life. This means I have to remove all the fluff and focus only on the things that matter the most. Instead of trying to do it all at once and ending up with a half-cooked work, I now intend to focus on doing one thing at a time and doing it well. Lesson 7. Enjoying yourself is super important. See, when you slow down, you get the chance to live what you are doing. And when you get the chance to live, you start enjoying yourself. When you feel enjoyment, work feels lighter and gets done quicker than when you are stressing yourself out. You are then more satisfied with your work, stay longer in the blissful, productive flow state, and feel more energized even after you are done with your writing. This also leads to not feeling the need to indulge in addictives like scrolling Instagram for that dopamine hit. Another win-win situation. Lesson 8. I know more than I realize. Last year, I had the privilege of meeting a schoolboy who wanted advice on becoming a writer. His parents are my brother's friends and knew I was a writer, so they invited me over one evening for a conversation. We were there for over 4 hours. For the first time in my life, I was the one talking and others were listening. We talked about everything related to writing, how to get started, how to keep going, the difference between traditionally published and self-published, the ins and outs of the industry, and the roles the parents can play in helping their son. I even read a couple of chapters of his spy thriller and shared my thoughts. The parents and the boy found our conversation helpful and could now see the next steps they needed to take. I too was glad to be of help. But what surprised me more was how comfortable I was talking about writing and how much I knew about writing. Until I had audibly shared it with someone, I didn't realize how much knowledge, skill, and wisdom I had picked up in my 10 years of being on this writing quest. I could talk on the spot about writing without any hesitation or anxiety. Again, an unknown feat for an introvert like me. I felt I had gained a superpower. Lesson 9. It's okay to not have a mentor. I can't explain to you how desperately for the last 10 years I have been looking for a mentor, someone to show me the way on my writing journey. I had applied for scholarships, tried building a relationship over email, tried working with someone, applied for courses and couldn't afford some of them as they were priced too high. I wasted a lot of time and money on people who promised they'd help me, but just told me what a couple of hours on Google or YouTube could have told me anyway. No matter what I did, I could never find myself a mentor. And that was the best thing to happen to my writing journey. Since I couldn't get the help and guidance I needed, I looked for it myself. I read books, I watched videos, I experimented, failed and then tried again. I kept repeating this cycle until I gathered what I learned and forged my own unique process. In looking for help, I became my help. If I had had a mentor, I would have copied their process. I would have embodied their values and beliefs without questioning them or figuring out my own. But since I worked it out on my own, what I have learned now is customized to my personality, values, and lifestyle. 10 years later, I am fine without a mentor. Not that I think I would never need help, but I know I have the ability to figure things out. Lesson 10. Now my author life begins. Last year, I also celebrated 10 years of being on this writing journey. What began as a sudden hit of realization from the gods now has turned into a lifelong devotion to the craft. In these 10 years, I have gone from crying every day because I wasn't able to write a scene, to have written over 20 short stories, brief outlines of 2 novels, over 190 essays, over 30 podcast episodes, 2 published books, 2 in the process of publishing, and a handful in the pipeline. I have gone from a person who knew nothing about writing to becoming a writer others call for advice. I have gone from having no clue where I am heading and fearing the unknown to knowing exactly where I want to go and how, while staying open to the subtle nudges life brings me. I have spent 10 years of my life as an apprentice to the writing and creative gods. There was blood, sweat, and tears through it all. There was labor without any reward in sight. There was dismantling of my identity and building a new, improved, and aligned one. And now I have graduated. I know it. I can feel it. Based on the signs I have received throughout last year, I know I am ready for the next step. The first 10 years of my writing life was spent learning how to become a writer. Now it's time to learn how to become an author. And there you have it, the 10 writing and creative lessons I learned last year. What are your thoughts on this? And what are the lessons 2024 taught you? I'd love to hear from you in the comments on Substack and YouTube. Before we call it a day, I'd like to inform you about the changes the podcast and my Substack newsletter are going through. You must have noticed the changes in the show's intro. The same has happened in the outro. I'm also working on making the feel of the podcast friendlier and conversational, which is why I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments or in the form in the show notes. The Substack newsletter is also seeing some changes, the major one being the name. I'm changing the name from Rubina's Bojra to Becoming a Writer. This newsletter is now no longer just about me. It's about us. So I believe the name should suggest so. Also, I will no longer post essays on Wednesdays. I am saving my words for the books I write. If you have any other suggestions, feel free to share them with me. The more I improve, the better I can serve you. Well, that's it for today. Next time we meet, we'll discuss the steps you need to take to make sure you actually write and finish the first draft of your book in this new year. Until then, keep writing, my friend. Thank you for catching up with me today. I hope you found some inspiration to help you grow a deeper relationship with your writer self. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow the podcast and drop a review. You can also share any suggestions or questions with me through the form in the show notes. You can find more conversations like this and download your free Writer's Mental Toolbox PDF at rubinagomes.substack.com. That's a wrap for now. See you later.